in cartoons where the character, like SpongeBob or whatever, his eyeballs like pop out and they're like dangling around still? Yeah. Do you guys know what that cord that's holding onto the eyeball still is called? It's like a nerve. Close, yeah, really close. It's optic nerve. Yeah, it's the optic nerve. So that's what this part is. It's longer. It goes all the way back to the brain, but that's part of the optic nerve. So I'm going to use green finally. So this whole piece right here is all the optic nerve. Inside of the optic nerve, you also have some blood vessels flowing in and out that will provide the parts of the eye with blood. So all of that is the optic nerve, number 13. So that is the optic nerve. So the optic nerve has blood vessels coming in and out. So when light shines in through the eye and it hits the fovea or the macula, that signal is sent to the brain through the optic nerve. So for number 13, optic nerve. This is actually what will carry visual stimulus or signals from the eye to the brain. So right where you have the optic nerve, you have nerves coming in and out, you have blood vessels coming in and out, okay, of the eye, which means the back of your eye, there's technically like a hole there too, where blood vessels and nerves go in or out. So then if we take a look there, where the blood vessels are entering, exiting, and the nerves entering, exiting, that means there's a hole right there, where on the retina, you have stuff moving in and out. So technically, in that spot, you have no rods or cones. So I'm just going to outline that spot with green. So that spot where the optic nerve leaves the eye, that spot is called the optic disc, and that's going to be number 14. So if light were to come through the cornea, past the anterior chamber, past the posterior, past the lens, all the way through the eye, if the light for some reason goes straight to the optic disc, you would not be able to interpret that image. You wouldn't be able to see it. There would be nothing there for you to see. But if the image light were focused onto the fovea, then you'd be able to see that image. So it's really particular. Right here, there's no rods, no cones, and so there's no image that can be produced right at the optic disc. So number 14.
So is that your blind spot?
Yep, I was actually going to write that. Good. So this is more commonly called your blind spot. Right here in the blind spot, there are no rods or cones, because this is where the optic nerve connects the eye to the brain. And since there's things moving in and out there, you can't have any visual receptors there. We have one more term, and it is the term for the fluid that fills up the inside of the eye. So if you guys take a look at the image, they have the eyeball filled up like 3/4 of the way with this fluid here. This fluid here is actually filling up the entire eyeball, okay? So this fluid is going to be our number 15. So number 15 is our vitreous humor. This is a fluid that is transparent, so it is see-through. What would happen if the vitreous humor were cloudy? What if it wasn't see-through? What would happen to the light? it would get foggy, the image wouldn't be very clear, the light wouldn't be able to travel all the way through the eye, okay? So if you don't have very clear vitreous humor, that could be an issue. It has a texture of gel, so it's very jelly-like. So it fills up the space between the lens and the retina. Its job is to support the inner tunic. So that fluid pushes out on the retina. If that fluid weren't there, the retina could start caving inward into the eye. So that fluid helps push the retina out towards the choroid coat and the sclera. Alright, so that is the last term for the eyeball. So just take a look over the terms real quick. Are there any terms you guys want to go over again, or are there any labels you want to go over again? Yeah.
Can you write the last one Thank you.
Yeah.
There's one of the lines that isn't has a line.
Yeah, there's a few lines that we skipped. This one right here is pointing at the lens, which we'll talk about more later, so I just left it blank for now. This line is pointing at the suspensory ligaments that hold the lens to the the ciliary bodies, which we'll also talk about later. And the other one we skipped was the blood vessels. So, yeah. Were there any other labels you guys need to go over again? Yeah.
Could you just repeat what the optic nerve said?
Yeah. So whenever light comes in through the eye, it goes past the cornea, past the pupil, past the lens, all the way to the macula lutea. The macula lutea has these structures called rods and cones that will turn that light into a chemical signal. That chemical signal travels from the eyeball to the brain, but the optic nerve has to convert that chemical signal into an electrical stimulus. So here at the optic nerve, it's converting light into electrical stimulus, or electrical signals, a nerve impulse. Yeah, Zach?
How does the macula lutea get to the optic nerve?
So the rods and cones in the macula and lutea, they have neurons that connect the rods and cones all the way over to the optic nerve. We'll talk more about how those rods and cones are arranged later. Yeah. Okay, good. So for your quiz tomorrow, right? You guys have a quiz tomorrow? Okay. Called the eye quiz. Guess what's going to be on that quiz?
Muscles.
The eyes. And I'll give you a bigger hint. It's just this, as in this exact same picture. Okay? So here's the quiz. There you go. Basically it. Here's the answers. You're welcome.